Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today I'm here to show you my Stamina Nightblade Bow build for the Deadlands DLC. This build is capable of pulling over 100k on the parse dummy and is viable for most endgame content. This build specializes in pulling as much damage as possible for group content such as trials, vet dungeons, and group arenas. This build is not meant for solo plays such as solo arenas, soloing overland content, etc. As per usual, starting from the character sheet, I have 64 points into stamina and I'm running the Thief Mundus. For the race, I am a Dark Elf. I believe Dark Elves have some of the best passives for stamina DPS. Other alternatives would include Orc, Khajiit, and honestly any other class that benefit from having stamina as their main resource. So for consumables, for any high-end content, you want to be running the Artaeum Takeaway Broth. A cheaper alternative would be Dubious Cameron Throne. And lastly, if you need a little bit more sustain, Lava Foot Soup and Salt Rice is always the go-to. As far as potions, for any content, you want to be running Essence of Weapon Power. This gives you access to 3 of the most important buffs: Major Savagery, Major Brutality, and Major Endurance, all buffs that Stam DPS thrive off of. As a quick note, make sure you have 3 points in the medicinal passive to make sure the potions last longer. So regarding CP, I chose to run Master at Arms, Deadly Aim, Biting Aura, and Thaumaturge. Moving on to the red tree, we have Bloody Renewal, Rejuvenation, Fortified, and Boundless Vitality. So for the gear, I'm running Kinra's Bow front bar, charged with a flame damage enchant, a Black Rose Prison infused with a weapon damage enchant, a Slime Crawl medium divines, 5-piece Reliquin medium divines, Harpooner's Waiting Kilt, and all jewelry with weapon damage enchants and traded in Bloodthirsty. So for the skills, we're running Relentless Focus, Lethal Arrow, Poison Injection, Killer's Blade, Barb Trap, and our ultimate is Incapacitating Strike. Back bar, we're running Endless Hail, Magnum Shot, Twisting Path, Mirage, Dark Shade, and Incapacitating Strike again. There's 2 rotations that I was messing with. The first rotation involves running Relentless Focus as your priority, and then using Endless Hail, Magnum Shot, and Twisting Path all cast together, and then dynamically running Poison Injection, Barb Trap, and Dark Shade. So for the easier rotation that is also shown in the parse video that does a little bit lower, I'm running Relentless Focus as a priority. Right after, I'm running Endless Hail, Magnum Shot, Twisting Path, and Poison Injection. And then this is where it splits into 2 sections. Either it's going to be Incap with Lethal Arrows, or casting Barb Trap, Dark Shade, and Lethal Arrows until you can get a Relentless proc, or you have to bar swap. As far as executes, they're all the same at 25%. Replace your Lethal Arrow spammable with your execute. Just drop Trap and Shade if you can't get more than half the duration. Also at this time, drop your Magnum Shot, and at 8%, drop everything except for your execute. So pre-buff is super simple. Start off with a cast of Relentless Focus, cast your Trap, Dark Shade, back up and start with your Endless Hail. Followed with a Magnum Shot and a Twisting Path. Bar swap, throw your Poison Injection on while you're running to the dummy, and then start with an Incap, Relentless Focus, and snipe until your next Relentless is up. As per usual, here's some closing thoughts. First off, Stamina Nightblade might be the hardest Bow class to play, considering you have 2 skills that you need to be in melee range for. You can change it to 1 if you run Zogvin, although you will suffer a DPS loss. In some scenarios, it might just be worth it to do that instead. Another thing is, because on the back bar, those animations take a while, I noticed that if I ever miss a light attack on the 3rd skill, which is Twisting Path, and I didn't bar swap in time, then I lose my Kinra stacks. So just make sure whatever skill you cast on the front bar, most likely Relentless Focus or Lethal Arrow, make sure you hit that light attack, bar swap as fast as possible. So you start off with the maximum time for Kinra, and then swap to your back bar, cast your 3 skills. Then make sure on the last skill you animation cancel and go to your front bar before the light attack hits. And that was the way that I made sure my Kinras didn't drop. Another thing to note is when I was DPS parsing, letting my Trap and Shade run out was giving me higher numbers than consistently keeping them up. As explained in the easier rotation, way easier to hit 100k doing that rotation than running everything dynamically, so that's another thing to think about. I just want to touch base and reiterate on that. So what I mean by that is for the first rotation, you want to cast your 3 back bar dots, and then you want to cast Poison Injection, and then you want to cast your 2 dots. which would be your barb trap and your shade, and then you would alternate, as in the next rotation, instead of worrying about your trap and shade, when you come back to that section of the rotation, you would just in cap, and then you would just do your lethal arrows and relentless focus. So your trap and shade both lose a decent amount of uptime, but it makes sure that you can time your end caps with your lethal arrow and relentless focus. So Stamina Nightblade uses Twisting Path, and that skill has a limited range. So make sure you go forward or you stay at the maximum distance you can be from the dummy. Otherwise, your twisting